we have two types of component management and use content. So this is a hook. So we didn't discuss that in our previous workshop because this kind of broad, this serves as also a tool for state management. You can use the use contents, you can use the external library like the radius and so on and so forth. There are many tools you can use for your state management. All right. So I hope you can see my screen. Mario, thank you very much. All right. So today we will discuss on routing, React routing, state management, and use context.
This is you, I know.
So that's what we cover today, routing, state management, and use context.
I'm
So our
proud.
learning objectives for today's workshop is that we are all to understand routing in React. So we navigate between pages. So route means navigation between pages. All right, just like you have your normal routes on your road that you can follow different routes to achieve different destinations. Maybe you're going to the market, you have to follow a particular route. Same thing happens here. So if you want to access my market page here, there should be a route I have to follow. So that's where comes routing. So whenever you click on a page, it opens to another page. You click it, it opens another. So you are navigating. We are routing. That's exactly what you are doing. You are routing, moving from one page, navigating from one page to the other. So what helps us achieve that in React is routing. So also we are able to create a dynamic route, understand state management, and use local and global states. All right, so this we'll discuss extensively. Then also the use of context API and the use of use context hook with TypeScript. So first, what is routing? Just like I've explained, routing in React allows users to move between different pages or components without reloading the web page. Very important. All right, so you can move from one page. Imagine I have a 15-page website. So I can navigate within those 15 pages without me refreshing or reloading that page. Because why is it important? Avoiding unnecessary API calls, avoiding some unnecessary background reloads, and so on and so forth. So you can see the examples of this you can navigate. You can have the home page, you can have the about page, you can have the contact page, you can have the dashboard. So you can have maybe a button that says click to home page, and the home page is still another button to about, and still another button to contact, and you still see another button to home page, dashboard. So you can rotate around all these pages with the help of routing or routes without you reloading any of this page, without it reloading. You might see maybe sometime when I reload something, you see maybe here reload is spinning and you refresh. So all these pages it doesn't reload. For React it won't reload. You just navigate within those components without reloading it. That is the beauty of React. All right, so why use React? So benefits of React: better user experience, faster navigation, which we have still said, single page application. So at the end, it sees it as a spa. Everything. Imagine you having 10 pages, or let's say 20 pages. React says, I'm seeing it as a single page. That's why it's not refreshing it, it's not reloading. So I can navigate. Though inside that single page, it helps us to now break it down to different sections. It still sees as one. All right, so it's beautiful using React. So no full page refresh. So this is something we have to say, very important. Then organize application structure. All right, so how do we use this React router? First thing in the installation, you must install it. So you see it under this library called React router DOM. So you must install this and make sure it's available in your React. So we've done that. I think we'll still be doing that a live coding while I teach. Please, meaning if you are confused at any point, you can call me. You shouldn't get to the question and answer section so that you don't forget. So you can call my attention and I will maybe rephrase or recap or whatever I've said or explain more maybe before moving further. All right, so I will be opening my VS Code. Please confirm if you can see my VS Code.
I can.
Hello? My VS Code.
I can.
And up to now,
I can see your VS Code.
All right, Mini, thank you very much. But I'm not showing VS Code at the moment. Are you still seeing VS Code?
No.
Right now, I'm seeing Discord as well.
No.
I think I'm seeing something. React's use effect has a missing dependency. In that it's okay, so I can just leave the dependency to be. Let's see. I'll leave it to be R whenever it changes. Small letter R. Alright, so this is exactly what we did in the previous class. Alright, so which I just refreshed. The hooks. Alright, but today we're moving on routes. So I said first. First thing, yeah, is to install. So I said we can actually use this full word install or use the short letter I and then write the library you want to download. And where am I downloading this from? From this API, npm. So if I search for npm, this is a full community. All right. Let me see if this is the home page. All right. So you can see it. So if I search for that React, all packages are stored here. So if I ask for React, in class, we used it later. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
All right. Thank you. So if I search for this React router DOM, let's see what it shows. Okay, why are you validating? I'm just taking time to explain this so that you all understand the basics. Why I run. Just a little bit, I don't know. Right, verify that you are a human. Verification, good. So you can see how many search. So you've seen about 1,000 packages of that same type. But look at the one I'm looking for. So most times we look from the download to know the most common. So if you see this download, you can see that it has been downloaded by over 203 million users. React Router DOM. That shows you how effective or how popular it is. You can see the next one, maybe 22 million, type React, the rest type React, depending on what you want to do. So these are people's packages that have written, because it's an open source. So you can actually write your own and still push it to npm community. So if I open this one, which is from React, oh sorry, I'm opening another one. I open this one from React, you will see that it gives me instruction. This is how to download npm I and how to use it. So all this documentation is written here, how to use it. You can see everything, how to use it, and more and more. All right, so we'll just go quick to this. We just import like this React and so on and so forth. So let me just complete the installation on my VS Code. So I will say npm I, which I like shortcut. Yeah, again. Which I like shortcuts. React router DOM. Can you hear me? So while I wait for it to install, we'll go back to our file. So after installation, then the usage. So to use it, you must import it in every file you want to use it, but mostly we normally import it on our main or our app.js, which is where all our component is being routed. Quick, I will run the code here to explain this and I will move. I think that is the best way to explain. So to use this, I said I have to import. Please, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right, you can see my screen.
Yes.
All right. So I will the structure. I've taught you the structuring. How am I getting this from the React router DOM? So from this object that I have destructured, I will get my a browser router, the routes. So the order doesn't matter. Anyhow you want to call it, doesn't matter. All matters that you bring it in. If I decide to start from route or route, doesn't matter. All right, what matters that you bring it in. All right, good. So assign but never use. So let me remove this. This is beautiful React of React. Okay. So in this sense, instead of me calling it this way now, I will have to place everything in a route. This one is having a n. Let me see what I can remove here. So let me remove this. It's here. Remove this section. Alright, so I will rename this fragment to, let's just call it, I can leave it and it's your choice, but let me just rename to browser router as a component. And inside it, since I will have multiple routes, I will create another component called routes. And then I can now have my individual routes. So I can have routes. So this is the route is a self-closing element. Others are pair, but the single route is a self-closing element. We take in attributes as parameters. So first thing we are looking for is the path. What path do you want to give and allocate to it? What path do you want to allocate to it? So I can decide to say slash. Let's say what we have here, home. So I can rename this to be home, or whatever. I can still leave it to be root as hash. So whenever I open hash, automatically it will become the root folder. So I can say element. So next element is now indicating what element do you want to open when this route is accessed. So I will want to open the home. So I will just write the components the way it's been written. All right. So do we have home? Says this is missing. Home type. Okay. It requires me to pass in a property. So let me just stop it so that I don't mess up that code. So I can actually pass in what is missing here. So it says home type, title, and subtitle. So it requires me to pass in these two. So I can actually say title and say let's see if this works. Home page, and I will call subtitle, and I will say home subtitle. Alright, so I think any other error is being that some things are not being used. I can remove the hooks. Alright, maybe we can use it later on. This state is not used. I'll remove it. Okay, so now my codes are okay. Alright, so let me run my code. So I said to run code, use the npm run dev. This is to start your Git React project. So while we wait, okay, I think it's running. So these are local hosts. So I can copy this local host and run it on my browser. So I can open up this and run on my browser. So by default route, it will run the home for me. You can see it. So let's imagine I place this route to b/home. If I refresh, you see empty. So I have to pass in here to pass in my route home. This is the routing to get my home. I hope that makes sense. So that's why you see in navigation. Maybe here I cannot say, okay, we are moving forward. I will make it more interesting. So let's leave this home. But let's have maybe on the main. Let's have under components. Let's have a dashboard component. Dashboard dot txs. So I'll use my full React FFCE. Alright, so I'll remove the React. I don't need this. So I'll actually be importing home. Oh, okay, I don't need. I think let's proceed. When I get to that stage, I will let me just explain at once. Let me explain. So let's assume I have other components or other pages. Let me add more. About page. About page. So that so we can understand this routing very well. So I have about page dot tsx rf ce. Alright, so I'll remove this again. I don't need the React, and I will leave this. So in the React React router DOM object, we have so many things. So if I should say import and I try to destructure, right? Let me find out so many things we have in, and I'm getting this from React router DOM. So let's do what we have in this object. So if I say Control Shift to see everything, so you can see I have a lot of things, depending on what you're looking for. So it doesn't say that, oh, what you have here is only the what is it called, the browser or the browser router or the rest. We have so many. So inside this, I still have a tool called link. You can see. So we'll use it here. We'll still have another one called use navigate. So we have hooks inside this. So the word keywords. I will show you in my class in my previous. You understand how we create hooks. And we say we start with a keyword use. So whenever you say keyword use, you should know that these are hooks. And we'll explain what they are doing. Alright, what hooks does. So you can see so many hooks we have here. So, but one most common we can get from this React router DOM. We can even get the use ref. You can see that use location. So many. So I think this use location can get your actual location, image. I think feature. So many. So you can see. But for this, I will be discussing use navigation and use navigate. So I think let me get this use navigation. Use navigation. All right. So to use this tool, I think for the navigation, I have to rename it to instantiate it. So I can have the use navigate and assign it to use navigation as this. All right. So for the link, so I can say a link. So to use this, so this heads up the link. I'm using this is a component. That's why it's in capital letter N. So I can use something like this, and I'll say to. So whenever it's clicked, where will it take me to? So it can take me to home. I don't know if I need slash. Let me say home. So it looks like a button that has a link. So what is the problem? Oh, I have to group them in a fragment. Remember, this must be a single component. All right. Okay. This will work better. So ignore this use event. Let's test out this home and see if I need a slash. Okay. So for me to get this about, let me link it on my route. So maybe let's say another route, or let me bring it below. So I'll have to import the about here. Import the about page. That is a shortcut to import in VS Code. So by start typing the name, VS Code helps me provide all the paths automatically. So I can call my route, and so this is a self-closing, so I don't need this. Close this. say route after letter UTE. So I repeat the same thing. What part do I want to pass? Slash about, and element should be about. I will say about. Okay. So if I refresh my page and I have to navigate, right, to about. So most times you can see most site you see. If you know their home page, you can actually navigate. So about, let's see, do we have anything in about page? We have a div that has about and a link. I hope it's correct. Let's see. And our main about from components. Alright, it should work. About. Let's do something again. The network about. Let me call it directly. Let me confirm that it's working. So let me call him in a fragment here. Let me see. Or I can actually call him here. About. So I want to test out the about and see if it's working. So return to home. And I think that's where the problem is. Let's see my about. Okay, let's try to debug this. So alert here. Let me use it to test. They are working. About on. I hope my code is still running. It's running. It is running. Alright. About is running. Alright, I think let me do something. Remove the whole of CSS here. Add CSS. Confirm. Alright. Alright, okay, I think there's an error from the link. Okay, let me comment it first. Let me see. Why are you giving me? You're not meant to give me error. Okay, I think the error is coming from the link. I don't know, is it self-closing? Let me see if it's self-closing. That is, it is not. It's not a set property to, okay, so about body, can I pass in body? Yes, there's some error. Consider is an boundary to your tree to customize error. Sorry, hold on, let me see these boundary errors. And open it. I think this is actually not sharing. Let me continue thinking Using a class component. Setting it and okay, let's ignore this link for now. I'll use it on my main. Let me use this use navigation and see if it's the same thing. Okay, so I can say costs handle click so I'll remove this use here. Call it navigate handle click. I'll say function, and I'll say navigate to routes about. Let's say button, I'll click, I'll say call the handle, click. Okay. Hope this works. Down the band. So this. That's it. And so let me remove this here. Try using the structs. Okay. Slash about. Alright, good. Perfect. Alright, that works now. Okay, so let me try that use link again. So let me see button here. Let's say to home. Alright, so let me change this to home. Refresh this. And perfect. So this is what I'm trying to achieve. So you can see a button that helps us navigate to a different route. Imagine I have other routes here, maybe a button here that says navigate also back to about, or different button to dashboard, so I can easily do the route. So this use navigate, and also the link, right? It's asking for the boundaries, which I will find out well. Let me see if it's working. It's showing the same thing. They are doing the same thing. Either you are using the link or you are using the use navigate, the hooks. They are doing the same thing. Let me see. About. All right, I think it's working now. So if I say home, it takes me to home. All right, so I don't need to pass in this again. So I think I have to pass in this and refresh. Go back to about, refresh, and I'll pass in about slash home. Should take me back to. Alright, I think I have to indicate the local host. Do I need that? I think to do that, about shouldn't have a route. Let's change it to the default.
You say you did 6 months
Alright, so use that is the link. It must be default.
Wait, just
Go back to default.
So you started since December.
have perfect. It's working. So you can use either the link, you can use either this link or the onClick, which is the navigate, the use of use navigate hook. So all are inside this React router. So every code and debug which I have done, getting some error and debugging, I'm still trying to end and how we use this to navigate in between these routes. So this is what controls the route on our app.js, this route. So I can create different routes and use this either link or use navigate to control each button. So on my home, let's look for the home. I can actually have a button here also. All right, since this home is also a link. So I can say link. So if I call link here, automatically it will install it. It's meant to import. All right, but it didn't import, so I have to import it. So let me just call it again here, link. All right, so it's meant to import originally. So import it from React router DOM. So I can now use it here, and I will pass in to where. So let's say to about, and I will say about. Let's see. Good. So you can see it here. So if I click on about, it takes me back to about, and I can click on home and I keep navigating without my page refreshing. So you can see the beauty of routing. That is the beauty of routing. And to home, I can still refresh different buttons. Now, to different pages you have created or use. So you can use the link or you use the use navigate. Either way, easier for you. But using the link, I call it as just like a button. The way I call a button, but this is a component. I am passing this attribute to where are you taking it to? Where is it routing to? All right. So this place, where is it routing to? But for this use navigate, it comes as a function on our about. So for the use navigate, it comes as a function. So I can decide to call the function here. If I don't want to pass in this full function, let me do another thing. So if I want to pass in this function directly in this event, all I do is to call a callback function, and I will call my navigate. And where am I navigating to? Home. So this is the same thing. We are still doing the same thing. All right. So this long pro code and this one also is still the same thing, depending on the one you want. So this one makes it more organized and neat, though it's long, and it is just a straightforward, depending on what you want to achieve. All right. I think that explains routing. That explains the routing. So I will move very fast to it. So the same thing I've done here. So you can see the same parts and the elements and understanding important concepts. So I've done this. The browser, this routes the app. Route contain all routes. Route defines the route. Link. This is the two things I just explained. The link navigate between pages. Use navigate using code. You can see them. All right. So we have done this navigation with link, which I use the link. All right, so use this. This is the same way I just used it from the React DOM, React router DOM, and using the programmatic navigation, which is the use navigate, which I've used also. We also call use navigate, and most times you instantiate it first as an object, then you now use this as a method, as a function. The same thing I just repeated. All right, so we've done this. Then another one is the dynamic routes and dynamic parameters. So this dynamic route is most times you might have a particular product and you just want to be navigating them differently by their IDs. All right, so this is how you can just set in this column and pass in this ID. Does not mean that it must be the letter ID. You can pass in any letter of your choice. What it means is that when I get it from my use params, I will have to call exact thing I assign here, which is ID. You can see that they are structuring to get the exact parameter I have assigned, or a variable I have assigned to hold it. So to hold this, and I can now reassign whatever I have on my params to my page. I hope that is not confusing. So the use of params, is to grab this, to grab something from a URL. That is use of these params. So what is looking for you? If I say grab params and it's looking for ID, it's looking for something that has
Now,
you can see, let me see if there is any query here.
my own, I don't
There is no query on this URL. This one, good, beautiful. This is a query, so you can see active tab is a query and it's holding readme. So if I search for use params, I can able to access active tab and it will get this value for me, whatever readme I have in it. So that is what that thing is doing. That is what it's doing. Alright. Next is state. So I've discussed state in our previous workshop. So I will just have to rephrase and dive into state management.
Supervise me again after that one. Then maybe I'm going to
So state in React, state is data that changes over time, which you have said. So we'll see it in our counter values, user input, login status, shopping cart, themes move. So they can see things changing over times. Alright. So most times you visit Jumia, your content you are seeing today, and it's all something we see again the next. They keep changing depending on how they mutate it. Alright, so that is state for you. And we have types of state, the local state and the global state. Alright, the local state and the global state, types of state, global state and the local state. So first, local state with use state. So the normal use state which you have discussed in the previous workshop is just used for the local, which I can set my state. It's just working only within this app. Only within this app, unless I can pass in through props to extend it to another component. But other than that, it works only on this parent component. So you can see them using state here, and we are using it here. And you use the second parameter, what is it called? Object. It's not an object, sorry. This is an element. The second element here to change what this have in this first value. The count holds the value, and this is a function, a method that changes whatever we have in this value. So these are elements, since they are the structure using an array. These are elements. All right. So we set count and use count, and we just say, get me the actual value of count, which is holding this one, and increment it by 1. We've done it before. So that is for this state. This is a local. But for the global, it says I can write it in one place, in one file, and use it all over my pages as long as that page exists. That's what the global means, right? I can have it in one place, one source, and use it across 1,000 pages across my projects, as far as I'm having it wrapped in one folder on one React. So understanding state management. State management means managing and sharing data in an application, which is what we have just said, and I've discussed types, local and the global. So the local versus the global. So for the local, used in one component, which is what I've said. Global, shared across components. That is just the major difference. All right, so the local is very simple, like you see, use state, and you just have the two elements, the value and the set and the setter. All right, or the modifier. So we have is simpler, but for the global is more complex because you are managing so many things. And this one uses use state. Here you can use the context API, or you can use the radius and so on. But for this course, we will be limiting within this context API. This is a React hook. All right, so we'll be using this. So if you understand this content, it's much easier. Then understanding radius will be very, very more better, because radius is more broad because you have so many files to create and many routes to follow. So it's used mainly for the local, for just small apps, and for the global where you have a large file. All right, so let's dive into the context API. The context API allows us to share data globally without passing props manually. This is a very beautiful thing, without passing props manually. So you can just access them on it and not pass props. And we have done props. I did it in the last workshop and also last 2 workshops. Props. All right. So this helps for authentication when you want to change a theme. So when time you see they say change to dark mode, change to white mode, and it appears across every pages. You can say change white, change to light, change to dark, and any page you assign, it changes everywhere. It is using a global state. That's why it is affecting every page. If I use a local page and I say on this page, on this component, only change thing, when you leave this page, it will return back to the normal theme. But in the case that when I navigate to home is black, the about is black, the contact is black or is dark, is using a global state to hold information across those components. All right. Next one is for language. You can say most times I say change the language and I change to English, and all my pages is everywhere I'm navigating is having English. Those is saved in a global state. For user data and cart items, right? So this is the hook use contents hook. So use contents hook allow component to access shared global data. I repeat, use contents allow component to access shared global data. All right. I hope you are following and it's not too boring. Most time people see React as boring as whatever, but I think they are wrong. React is very interesting. So it works together with contents provider. So when using use contents hook, you must work with this contents provider. They work pari passu, hand in hand. They're just like twins. You can't use this without this, and you can't use this without this. So whenever you see this man, you must see this man, the context provider. All right, so let's dive into using it. How do we use it? So first thing is to create a content. So this thing is getting from directly from React. So you can see that this content is directly from React. So we import the create content from React. Then this is because of React TypeScript. Type, you say, let's define what type of type we'll be passing in to this content you are creating. So you can say it will have a type, a name, and a string. And we'll say this is our exact place we are creating it exactly. So we just export it. We create it as a file. They created it as a file, and you just export so that you can use it anywhere in the page. All right, within your page. So export this user contents, and we are creating this. We just imported create contents, and it's notating this type, the user contents type, or no. So either you pass in name or no, it will accept. There won't be a problem. It can return no. All right, so that is what it means. So either any of this, if there is a value that a name string, it accept. If it doesn't, and also a no, meaning there is no data, it's still okay. So don't get unnecessary error. All right, so after creating this, remember, first step is to import create content. I want to make it very easy so that we can understand it. All right, like we say, it's a bit complex, but understanding little by little makes it more interesting and you can grab. So first thing, you must import the create contents, and let's use the word initialize. All right, so let's just say you are using the word to initialize it, make it useful. So I say I've imported it, let's use it. So I'm just exporting it and create another variable. This is a variable since you're seeing cost. This is another variable holding what I just initialized. I hope that makes sense. So whenever I call user contents, I will get create content. Whenever I call user contents, I get create content with this data. That makes sense. I think that is clear. Then we move further. Next thing is creating provider. Like I said, these two works hand in hand. Creating provider. So what this provider helps is just to wrap all applications you want to provide. I repeat, it helps to wrap the component we want to share those global data across our pages, and the page we want to share it with. I will explain with the code. So another thing you can see here on this page that has, maybe this is our app, the app. First of all, I am importing the user contents, which is the create content I have created from React. You can see have option to import the create and initialize it here. It's your choice. But they are just making it easier so that it becomes the component. Maybe when I need it somewhere else, I don't have to import it. I can just call the user contents and I will use it directly. I don't have to initialize anything for create contents, assign a type anymore. Yeah, that's in mind. All right, so that is why I'm just importing user contents. By importing user contents, I'm actually having access to create contents. Then inside these user contents, there are objects. Inside this user content are just initialized. it has objects. So if I console log user contents, I will have so many objects like a provider and so on and so forth. So inside this user content that I've initialized is where I have this provider, capital letter P, capital letter P, capital letter U. These are components, right? So we create a component, right? You can see capital letter U, that is compulsory. Don't use a small letter, it's compulsory, capital letter P. These are components. All right, so you create this. Then I say user content dot provider. I will close it as a component. Then it will accept a parameter. So these parameters or attributes is not the actual value I want to share across all my projects. So I will now assign a value. This is a keyword value, and inside this object I can pass in any information I want to share across my object and any type, any data type. So I can decide to share a number, I can decide to share a name, but since these are TypeScript, it's strict. Data type is strict. That is why they defined it first here. That it must have it's just a name or empty. So if I need more, I can include it here. So if I want to share maybe a number or a different thing, an array, or I must include it in this type I've created. Once I include it in this type, I can now pass it as a value here. And I will say I want it to be available on home. So if I want to be available on about, I will also add about. All right, so I think we'll do a live code on this and we'll round up with it. I think it's already we spent this already 1 hour. We still have more time. So I will do a live code on this after explaining so you can understand better. So how do we use now? So I have assigned a value. Look at the information I want to share across home. That whenever I home page, I can now have access to this information, name, Enoch. All right. So accessing data, accessing data in this our contents API. First thing I will do, I must also call that create contents I have done, which I gave a name, use contents from our user contents. Remember, then I call in use contents from our React. When I was creating, I called create contents from React. When I want to use, I called use contents plus the create content I have created called user contents. I hope that is making sense. All right, so to use it, I can now set a variable, whatever variable I want of your choice, and I'll use this use contents and pass in these contents I've created. So whatever information in this content will be available to this use contents and assigned to variable. So I can now say user or name. This I think I've done null for you, null element. That is the reason, no reason why we're passing this. So it's optional. So I can actually leave it or not. All right, it's optional. It's optional. All right, I think that is all. So run a live code to explain this. So first thing, create contents, run component with provider, provide value, access value with contents. I hope that makes sense a little bit. So let's run a live code on this. So I will open up two things. Okay, so let's go to our VS Code. Let me open it and call it API. All right. So under this API, I will now have a file, call it user content. I'm just taking the same name we have, DXS. I'm just taking the same name. And here I'm just importing from the structure from React. What am I getting from React? I'm getting create content. So this create content says let's give it a type and say this type we have let's call it user content type, and it will have a name, and the name is a string. This React. This is a TypeScript for you. All right, context is defined but never used. All right, no problem. So let's use it here. So I can now export so let's create a variable what I'm exporting. So let's call this, let's use the same variable they use. So use user context. I'll letter U. Is this contents? Since they are creating a component. Contents. Okay, then I can now call my create contents. And this create contents, we now use this ascension type. I think we've done this, right? So what is it using? It's using the user content type or no. And it can return a null since it's using a null. I hope this makes sense. As easy as this. So let's say this man here, I still want to give it a age. And I can say age is a number. I hope that makes sense. Age is a number. So I can say, I can also give in, okay, let's leave this to information for now. My backspace is not pressing. What is the problem? Okay. Sorry. I think my system is having some psych. So let's come to my app.ts where everything is wrapped here. I have everything wrapped here. Okay. So I can say import. So most time, since it's React and you're using VS Code, you might not need to be using the keyword import. Just call the component you want to name. Like this user content. It will import it for me. So you see it's importing it from the actual route from my API which I created and the user content. Yes. So I have it here. All right. So I said this should wrap. So permit me to leave this, remove this route for now. I'll just comment it. I'll just comment it out so you can understand it better. And I will comment this. The whole of this. Okay. Let me just comment this one. Double slash will comment here. Double slash will comment it that. And this. Alright. So to use it, I must call, I can use the fragment either way. Then I now call a component called user content. Inside this user content, you can see I have consumer, I have provider, I have argument, I have callers, I have name, I have prototype, so many. But what I'm looking for is the provider to provide a value. So I can have it this way. You can see property value is missing. So I must assign a value. Value. What value do I want to assign? Since this thing is taking a type name, I cannot say name, and I will reassign name to be a string of property name is age is missing. All right. So a string of let's say go doctor, and I can have my age since I have specified it. And let's say age can be a number. Let's say 30 and this. So next thing is, where do I want to provide this information? So I want it to be available on the home. So I can also say I want it available on the about. So you say home is missing. Why? This, okay, homes requires a property, a type. So let me just copy it here. Let me just copy here. Let's copy here. And I'll paste here.
Hey, how are you?
All right. I hope this is making sense and is a bit understanding. So I have created the use contents. I have used the provider to provide my information. So all this information I have here now, I can access it in my home. I can set it in my about. So it's global. So I can come to my components here now, or my about, or my home. Now we are on the section on to access. So we have done the create, we have done the use provide. Now we are using the use contents accessing. So first thing, we import the use content and our create content. Please confirm that you can still hear me and see my screen. Good. So I can now import use contents, React, and also user contents, which I use in my create contents. Good. So to use it here, I will come to my function. This is where I have it here, that I can initialize it here and call it user. First, user equals to use contents, and what is it getting? It's getting user content. So if I log user, you should see that I have access to this user information. So I think let me use the route. Mine. All right, so you can see it. The information is present on the home. The name, you can see it as long as it's running. So information is. So if I run on my about, you still see it. If I copy this like this now on about page, available also, and I place here and import use contents and user contents. It will be available. Refresh. This is on the home. Let's access the about. Let me know if this will work. I don't know if I can use this browser. Let me see something. If this will work, since I'm using a folder, cannot find name. Okay. Let me see if it work. I have page home. Error occurs. But why? Let me just deactivate this link for now. Alright. Have dash home. Okay, that's about. Okay, cannot destructure property based name of import content as a now. I think that would be the best, so I can use my browser. I can cut off this, come to my main. All right, I'll come to my main and I'll paste here. Okay, I'll paste here instead of application here. Let me have the street mode. Move this street mode. Let me remove this street mode. I hope it won't give me error in fit. Application is defined whenever yes. So now use application. All right, cannot find use contents. User contents. All right, let's see if this solves the problem I'm looking for. I don't need the street mode. Remove it. All right, so let me see this. Perfect. This solves my problem. So you can see that it's available. I removed that street mode. The street mode is what actually makes that code to repeat, right? So I'm using my provider directly. So you can see on my about, I am having information, the code doctor on my on age 30. On the home, I still have the information. So I can use it across all my pages. Every page is as far I'm concerned. I can use it everywhere on my pages. I hope that makes sense. I hope. So that's it. So it's available. I can create different and I can use it. So how do I use it? I can actually say it's the same way we use. So I can come to my home. I can come here instead of a title here. I can actually pass in user.age. User.age. So it automatically shows that is enough. You can see 30. And I can say dot name. So in this it has a no return code doctor. So I can use it. I can pass in. So if I want to add more information, I can actually come to my user contents, add more, say let's say height, and I will say height should be a number, and I will pass in on the provider, which is on the main, height, and I will say 6.1. I think that should be actually that is my actual height though, 6.2. All right. So refresh. You can see the height is available. On my about, the height is also available. And it's global. So I don't even need to modify anything. By setting those things, they are available everywhere and I can use it on my pages. I hope that makes sense. Any question? Any question? Any question? Good. This is routing. Routing. This is routing. But do you notice that this is being refreshed?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Mario,
Yes.
can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, look at something is happening. It's refreshing. Whenever I click on this, it refresh. But React says you don't even need to refresh. By clicking on this, it just open without refreshing.
Okay, so is there a way? Is it possible?
Alright.
What's the benefit of making that possible? Instead of having it to refresh, it just goes to the page like React does.
All right. The benefits. Let me tell you. Just imagine now that this information, I am getting this, or let's say this very committees, this image, is being stored on a database. Let's assume.
Okay.
Then, anytime I visit this committee, it will run that API to fetch this data from a database. I want to explain the state management and the routing. But React says, I have option of saving this information on a state, a global state, using that contents. I can save all these images that's coming from a database on a state, global state. So that whenever this committee is run once, it will only fetch my database once and get the information and save it. So if I go to him and come back to committee, it won't fetch that anymore. It will save along that state and just use it. It is not calling my API. It reduces the number of calls on API. Because most servers, they charge you on your API calls.
Yes.
Number of times you call your API is number of times they are charging you. So if I come here and keep clicking it 10 times, it's calling it 10 times. A global state for React says I can store it as a global as far as I did not refresh. I don't need to call my API. So only when API will now become, maybe when I now refresh it by myself. So now go and fetch this data fresh for me. But as long as I did not refresh, I keep navigating through my route, it will not refresh my browser, it will just be using my, so I can call this committee here and have this image. On this chapter, I don't need to call my API. I can still print those image here again using my global state. I don't need to call my API or get those values. On my event, I can still access that image without calling my API. That is the beauty of that global state, and this is routing, helping us to navigate from one page to another.
All right.
All right. Mini is just jumping in and jumping out. I can actually vow that she's very confused.